And now it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Julie Scott. Julie is a senior software engineering manager at Vrbo and is an experienced technical software development manager with a demonstrated history of working in the payment and financial industry. Before joining Vrbo, she held roles at Dover Fueling Solutions, Systems Management Solutions, and National Instruments. Julie will be sharing her struggles, learnings, and tips from when she joined the team at Vrbo with her talk entitled Switching Between Stacks. Thank you so much, Julie.
Thank you. Thank you for that awesome introduction. Let me start sharing my screen because I do like to talk to a slide. Let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see it?
Not yet, Julie.
All right, let me see. All righty.
Okay, there it is. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I am so very glad today to have this opportunity to share my experience with you guys. My talk today is about switching technology stacks. I want to kind of share my journey moving from a embedded software development focused industry for a manufacturing company to now Vrbo, which is part of Expedia, where we are focusing on developing the next generation of web and mobile solutions for vacation rental industry as well as the travel industry. So let me kind of set the expectation for this talk. We only have about 30 minutes for this talk, so I'm not going to go through the details on how I learned JavaScript, how I learned GraphQL. Everybody's journey is different. So my expectation and for this is really to go over some of the learning, some of the takeaways that I have experienced in my switchover journey. And hopefully that will give some inspiration for those of you that are intending this, as well as give you the courage to take the next step if you are on a crossroad where you're looking at what your next journey will be. And so let's kind of get started. So who am I? So I want to make sure that you guys know who I am and why I am talking about what I'm talking today. So I have been a software developer for over 20 years. I started off as just a software contractor writing small programs. I started doing software development for really embedded systems. So I actually work on traffic light controls. I work on silicon wafer test fixtures. I work on software that drive different hardware and collecting data. So for the first part of my career, mostly is really focusing on embedded software development. In the last 5 years, I actually went from a software developer into an engineering manager role. There was an unexpected movement in my career. I actually did not want to be a manager in the first place, but the opportunity came up and I wanted to give it a try just to see what it is like. It has proven to be very rewarding in its own sense, but it also kind of set the path for me to kind of learn about how I transition from one role to a different role. And it's very similar to transitioning technology stacks because you have to learn new skills. You have to let go of some of the things that you think you know a lot about. And as well as you have to now shifting focus on different areas that you probably don't feel comfortable with. So that's kind of my my career side. And at home, I am a mother to 3 children that are in elementary school. And for those of you that have small children at home, during this time when everybody's working from home, it has been very challenging. I am lucky enough that I have a husband who is a stay-at-home dad. So for me, that has been given me a big relief as far as making sure I was there to take care of the kids and making sure that they get the schoolwork done. But overall, I am a woman and I feel proud to be a woman. And switching over to Vrbo, it has given me a lot more chances about connecting with other women to empower other women in the technology space. So it has been very rewarding and I would love to share every bit of it with you guys. But like I said, it's only 30 minutes, so I have to get to the point. But I do want to talk about how all of this started. I have to thank Power to Fly. It was one of the personal challenges that I gave myself about 2 years ago, that for being an introvert, I need to push myself out of my comfort zone. So I gave myself a challenge to attend a networking event once a month. And my goal is not really to make a lot of connection, but at least to show up and be there. And Power to Fly was one of the networking events that I went to, and that's how I actually ended up at Vrbo. So this is the very first challenge that I gave myself once I became a manager, because my role has changed since then. So that is kind of my background. But you guys are here because you want to know about the technology stack. So this is kind of the technology stack that I moved on. Like I talked about, I focused the most part of my career really on embedded software. I wrote a lot of code in low-level languages, all the way from assembly code. And in the higher level language, we focus a lot on C++ and Visual Basic. And I can already hear some people cringing on the call because of some of the older technologies that we use. But embedded software is interesting and challenging because you don't always get an available solution. You always have to look at the hardware, and a lot of the software are actually headless, so you don't actually have a user interaction screen for you to work with. Moving to Vrbo has completely changed that technology stack. I was starting to learn about doing mobile development, doing web development, using a complete different languages, learning about using databases and how the different service endpoints and multiple clients, and servicing a huge amount of calls, and making the SLA, the service level agreement, based on the client's usage. So it's very different, but then there are also a lot of similarities, such as performance always an issue. Everybody wants their system to run fast when they need it. So being able to react to the customer request, to have real-time responses is important. And also similarly is always restriction. Embedded devices, you are really restricted by the hardware that you are placing your software on. But when you look at web and mobile development, you're also restricted by the browser version. You're restricted by the iPhone model or the Android phone model. So those are similarities. But what drives this transition for me to move from embedded into web and mobile developments is a second challenge that I gave to myself, which is to do something uncomfortable, something that is different, but something that would help me grow. So I actually attended a conference where the keynote speaker talked about a movie that they make. And the one quote that struck me was that man cannot discover new oceans unless he has the courage to lose sight of the shore. That has struck me very hard, on that if I'm holding on to something that I have been always used to, that I'm comfortable with, I would never know what I can do, where I can get to. And everybody has their ocean to cross, and I need to identify my ocean and figure out how I can get there to reach my personal goal. Now, to do this transition is difficult because there are so many things that would affect it. Letting go from going from a domain expert to a complete newbie on a new technology, the fear about what happen if things don't work out, especially with me as the breadwinner of the family. What would happen to my family if things are not successful? But the biggest question is the why. Why? What are we trying to accomplish here? What kind of investment I'm willing to put in, and what are my strengths and weaknesses? So to transition into a new technology stack, you have to look at, there are many different transitions and many things that are new to you. So you're definitely going to be in different position, different industry. So you need to look at what are something new, what are some of the things that you need to learn, what are the new adjustments. With me, there are many different changes. I'm going into a new industry from a manufacturing company to a travel industry. We need to understand about the new company, the new technology stack being used. What are the trends? How does the company make money? What's the culture of the company? Who are the people? What do they expect of you? As well as making new connection and new relationship when you move into a new role. But make sure that even if you're starting all that from scratch, you know that all the knowledge, all the things that you learn, as well as the old connection that you have are there to stay, is for you to keep. But life is an adventure, but you cannot stride on just thinking about, should I do this or should I not do it? That's only one choice. There's no trying. You either dive in or you don't. And that is where I push myself to take that challenge. So one of the things that I learned with my switchover technology journey is that it is a journey. It has multiple milestones. I start with a personal vision, and the personal vision should not be really tied to a particular technology or a particular job title. The biggest personal vision is, why am I doing this and what I'm trying to achieve? For me, is just to see what I'm made of. If I can learn something new, if I can adjust to something that I'm not comfortable. And really start with baby steps. Set the bar really low about what your accomplishment could be, because every time you complete something, it makes you happy. It helps you to push for the next milestone. And it also helps you to have little victories to celebrate. And for me, my very first baby step, call it funny, but it was just writing a status report. Going into a new company and have to write a status report for a team working on something that I have completely no clue of, it was very challenging. And for a weekly status report, I spent about 60% of that week just to write that status report. But I learned so much in that journey to write that status report. It helped me tremendously as I go on with my next status report and so forth. And one thing that I want to stress on is really, you want to set milestone, but not set particular goals, because goals are things that are check boxes. Once you check the checkbox, you move on to the next, you define new goals, and these goals might not be connected. What I said about setting milestone is that milestone are there to verify that you are on the right track, going on the right direction, but it does not restrict you to a binary yes or no if you have reached that goal. So I like to see things as more a milestone, so that I know I'm in the right direction. And definitely, you have to anticipate that you will enjoy this journey. You have to learn, and you have to go through some tough times. But if you cannot find enjoyment in this journey, it might not be something that you want to continue on. And definitely be flexible. You will make mistakes, you will feel frustrated, but you should be okay about sometimes maybe you change your milestone, maybe you change your goal. But most important is you got to stay inspired. You know how it goes, right? A few days after starting, you find yourself stuck in the weeds. Your exciting long-term dreams suddenly feel a long way off, and then you are starting to lose faith. It's never going to be easy, but you got to expect there will be tough times, but don't forget your personal goal and your why you're in on this journey. Another thing that helped me a lot was to build a supportive network. You have to understand the role that you move to is going to define how quickly and what you're going to learn in this new stack. If you're a developer, definitely you will learn about the technology. But if you are switching to a product manager role or even a UX designer, you will be working in different space, and that would determine where your focus should be. And also keep in mind that the different level you are, if you are an individual contributor, you will learn a lot differently than if you would be a manager. So for me, I have switched technology stack before as an IC, and it was relatively easy when you are assigned a task and you just spend the whole day or whole week, however long, to just work on that one problem. With me switching over as a manager, it has proven to be a little more complicated because I can't spend time learning particular technology, learning particular software. I am there to support the team and to figure out how to deliver our commitment. And that will change how quickly and or how deeply you can dive into the specific technology. And you got to set the right expectation for yourself and for your team to do so. And also the team culture, how supportive your team is, how tolerant are they for failure or for somebody that is taking up time asking questions. What's the team's mentality? And you got to understand and work alongside with them, be it to change the team's culture so that you can get the help you need, or adapt to the team culture and figure out where else you can get support from. For me, it's also building a network with my peers, learning from others who have gone through the same steps, who have similar experience. Problem that I am trying to solve sometimes already have been solved by other folks. We just need to kind of reach out and talk to them and see what we can learn from them rather than trying to reinvent the wheel. And of course, you got to have support from your management. I was extremely transparent with my manager when I started. Was that I do not know the technology. I try to learn, but I am not going to be able to solve problems, especially when it comes to fixing bugs or developing new feature, as it would for somebody that has been at the company as a software developer for some time. So you got to set up the right expectation and seek the right support from those that would be determining your performance and your contribution. So one thing that is important for me is really defining how to ramp up. And this is not exactly how I ramped up, but this is what I learned and what I would suggest for somebody switching technologies to look at as a ramped up plan. Is before your transition, kind of learn what kind of languages, what kind of platform the new position will require you to learn. Learn as much as you can. So for me is I knew that my new team would be focusing on GraphQL, would be focusing on Java and JavaScript and Node.js. So those are the technology that I spent time before I start on my new job to learn and to understand. And then also understand how they apply based on what type of company you're working for and how it is being used. But that's before you start. When you start, you got to expect that whatever you learn will be very textbook-like. Every company will always do something different, something homegrown, and you got to be able to ramp up and understand how it is worked differently in the new place or in your new job. And during this ramped up period, what you need to focus is that not on just the language, the platform. You also have to learn how your performance, how your job is being measured, what are the metrics that are being used, what tools are used to measure those metrics so that you know you're on the right track. And one thing that a lot of technologists don't pay attention to is really your impact in the company, in the team. Sometimes you might be doing a lot of work with very little impact, or you're doing something that you see is boring, is mundane, but those actually have big impact. And those is where you need to pay attention to and make sure that you balance your learning as well as producing the right impact to the company and to your team. And definitely kind of reinforce building the network is that you got to collaborate with your peers so that their success and your success are built on each other. That's how you fit yourself into a new company, a new role, and a new culture. And after the ramped up periods, then you need to kind of put your vision further, look at your organization goals, how you can help achieve them, as well as outside of the company where the industrial trends, because sometimes the most valued employees are those that can bring extra information into the company, bring in ideas and things that folks are heads down doing the job might not pay attention to. And that's when you can bring in the differentiator for you and for your career growth. So the lesson learned, the takeaway is really for my personal growth. I learned that I gotta be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Then Vrbo has been very outspoken people. We have a lot of conferences. People are willing to speak in front, and that was a new culture that I was not expected. I was not expected the first week on my new job. I was asked to speak in front of hundreds of people about what we are doing. That to me was extremely uncomfortable. But that's also reflecting back to that. That is what helped me grow. So definitely be very comfortable with being uncomfortable, because you are going to be more uncomfortable than comfortable most of the time, but that's when you actually learn and grow. You have to be confident about what you are doing. But be humble. Don't forget what got you here. Somebody has to see something in you to put you in that role. So be confident that people expect you to do great things, but be humble enough that you can ask anyone and everybody for help. It doesn't matter what job title they are, who they are. If somebody that can be your teacher, be humble and learn from them. Definitely be more transparent. Make sure that you don't hide any things that because you don't know or you you can't figure out how to react to. Sometimes we talk about pretend until you become it. That can only drive you so far. If there's no hard work behind that, you'll never become what you want to be. But sometimes all you need to do is just ask for help and you can get there. So use your own judgment. Sometimes you do want to be transparent so that people know you need the help. And it's always okay to not know the answer, but don't just stop it there. Always find out the answer and always let people know that you have the intention to find out the answers. And as I circle back to what we talked about earlier, you have to have a personal vision. If you have a personal vision, that's what drives you to move forward. So never lose sight of that. Always remind yourself what your personal vision is and why you were here in the first place. And lastly, but very importantly, is really look at your lifestyle. Of course, we always hear people talk about maintain a balanced, healthy lifestyle, get enough sleep, have a healthy diet, do exercise. But if we don't have a strong body, a strong mental state, we cannot accomplish as much as we want to. So it's very important to take care of yourself. Sometimes switching is stressful. It is demanding, and sometimes you feel like you'll never get where you want to. But the first thing we got to do is take care of ourselves, make sure that we are doing the best we can every single day. And lastly, I want to leave you guys with this quote that I find very inspiring. It's when I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. It's similar to losing sight of the shore. You got to let go of something to gain something more. And if you ask me if I have any regrets about switching to a new job, to a new technology stack, I do not have any regrets. But if I knew what I know right now, I think this would have been so much smoother. And I hope that by sharing my journey, it gives you an inspiration, and also it gives you some pointers of what to look for and how to take the next step in your career. And thank you so much for attending this. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask now, or I have my contact information there. So feel free to send me a LinkedIn connection. I would love to connect to you guys and build my network, as well as helping those of you that might be thinking about taking a similar path as I do. Do we have any questions?
Thank you so much, Julie. That was so inspiring and such valuable advice for all walks of life. Yes, I have a couple of questions. Jean has asked, from your experience, if you were to interview an engineer manager, what would you be looking for?
So when you, let me make sure that it's an engineering manager and not just an engineer, right? So engineering manager, a lot of people focus on the technical skills. For me, I think the hardest thing for an engineer to become a manager is actually learning the people skills also, because a lot of engineers are very logical, analytical. So to them it's either black or white. But when it comes to people, a lot of time there are many gray areas. So you want somebody that can understand technology, technology, can understand how engineers think, but definitely know how to work with engineers and motivate them. That is something that a lot of engineer managers, including me, are still trying to develop on that aspect.
I have also this question. What was your biggest fear when you decided to make a transition into a manager?
My biggest fear was that what if I'm not successful, right? This is kind of what everybody's fear is. If I take this next step, what if the next step is a death trap? What if I lose everything I have for something that I did not want? So the biggest fear for becoming a manager was not really about if I'm going to be successful in that role, is what I'm going to lose. I think that's a lot of time. That's what keep people holding on to what they have right now, because what you have in your hand is certainty. What you are reaching for is unknown. So one thing I was worried about is losing my skills in being in the technology, because you no longer have the time to do hands-on development. You won't know all the code changes that going into it. And the things that you architect, people might not implement it the way that you wanted to. So losing control over those little details is difficult. And then the next thing is, what if I cannot be successful as a manager? Because the manager requires different skills. You have to work with people. And one of the reasons I did not want to be a manager in the first place was that I didn't feel like I'm a people person. Talking to people sometimes exhausts me. And I kind of feel like if I have to spend a lot of time talking to people, to my team, to stakeholders, to my peers, that is not something I want to do. I want to just sit and focus and write my code. So this is a big transition that I wasn't sure I was willing to take at that point. But another venues that I was fearful about is really, like I said, I am the breadwinner for my family. So if I'm not successful, then I have to worry about where will I find the next job? Will I be able to hold off and keep everything running as is as I look for new opportunities? Thankfully, that has not happened, but that's always something that, as you take a leap of faith to go to something different, something new, you got to let go of something, and you got to have that risk tolerance to lose something that you might be holding dear life to, but sometimes it's worthwhile. It's definitely worth it for me to take the leap from my last job to Vrbo. I learned so much more. I make so many more connections, and it also opened my eyes to how different industry work, how different solutions were built using different technologies. So to me, it's all worthwhile. But of course, this is based on individual. Everyone has their own destiny. Everyone has their own ocean to cross. So mine might not be the same as yours.
Oh my God, I love you, Julie. Thank you so much. This is so inspiring. I do have a question from Julie. We've still got a couple of minutes time. What if you have the people skills and tech skills? How do you use that to move into management?
So the biggest thing is, if you are in a company that you want to stay, the biggest thing is get support from your management team. Show them that you're capable of doing what you're looking to do. Have open conversation with your manager saying that this is your career path, this is what you want to go into, and strive for it. Now, if you're looking to move to a different company and switch from an IC to a manager, that might be a little more difficult, but it doesn't mean that it can't be done. What you need to prove is that you are able to drive things to completion, you're able to influence other people, and then that you are disciplined enough to have the transparency about what's going on in the project, be able to bring the good news as well as the bad news. If you can set the track record that you can deliver as both at the individual technology skill set, as well as communication, driving people, leading other people to success, that shouldn't be anything that's stopping you from reaching a goal, if that is your goal to be a manager.
Great. Also, Andrea is saying, I would love to have this presentation. Are you willing to share? I think we would all love to. I mean, there's been some super inspirational quotes and just some pearls of wisdom on there.
Definitely. So I don't know how to send this out. Maybe we can connect afterwards. You do have my information on here on the last slide. And I guess if I reach out to somebody at How to Fly, we can put that slide deck somewhere that people can download.
Yes, we can do that, definitely, for sure. We are at time, but our next speaker has yet to arrive. So if you're still available, Julie, I've got a couple of other questions here that I can ask you in the meantime. I do want to be mindful of your time, though, if you're in a rush to get anywhere.
I can stay for a little more.
Okay. Now I can't find them. Oh, here we go. How is Vrbo working on building more diverse teams? So besides hiring amazing people such as you?
So it has always been a focus for Vrbo to have the inclusion and diversity. We actually have a whole team devoted to ensure of that. And looking at the composition, we just recently get an email from our leadership team on the diversity of the teams, and we are showing the different races on the ratio of and as well as people in management position. And compared to many other companies that I work with, I think the number is actually very nice. I'm not sure I can share those information outside of Vrbo, but compared to some other companies that I have worked for, we do have a much better ratio as far as people with colors compared to just the typical white male American. So the number is encouraging, and I think that's all that I can talk about as far as Vrbo's data.
And how do you keep your team? How do you keep your team communicating? Do you have any tips on that?
So every company has different culture. In my last company, we did a lot of team building events because the culture we have, because we work with hardware so much that the whole team is always in the office. So we do a lot of team building exercise. We go out, have lunch, or we just kind of have a potluck or so. Those are easy to plan. With Vrbo, because of all our developments, a lot of them is web-based, and especially with the COVID-19, everybody's working from home. The team building is very different, but it depends on the tools. We use Slack, we use other ways of communicating. And definitely the way that I keep the team together is I definitely make sure that everybody has a reserved amount of my time that is all theirs and they get my full attention. And sometimes it's just difficult when it comes to interrelationship between individual on the team. And that's when you as a manager, you need to make sure that communication is being transparent to the team. A manager's role is to bring things outside the team to the team, as well as things that happening inside the team is transparent to everybody. So it is always a learning process, and there are many ways that you can do that, but really it depends on the team's culture and how individuals work too.
Thank you so much. We just have one last question, and then we can let you go, even though we don't want to. When looking to hire a junior engineer, what do you look for?
It's mostly when a manager hire for a new position, they look at your past result, but then the most important thing is your potential, where you can get to, how you're willing to try new things, how quickly you can learn. So those are all the areas that we consider, we look for, but definitely show that you have the drive, you have that positive attitude, and that you can actually have results delivered. And I think that's what's important. We have so many brilliant young people just went to our internship program, and then they come back and they were able to do so much more. And sometimes it's surprising that folks that I have worked for in the industry for 10 years, and that's not know as much as an intern when they come in, because they just love the work. They spend so much time learning about things, and that's the power of being enthusiastic, the energy that people bring in, and that's what we look for. What I personally would look for if I look for a junior developer on my team is just the energy that willing to try something, that drive.
Thank you. And are you is Vrbo currently hiring?
I think there are some positions open on our website, but I haven't really checked lately, so I can't say one or another.
Thank you so much, Julie, for your time. This has been wonderful. I think the talk has inspired so many people as well. And if you were considering perhaps making a move, like maybe this was the little push that that we needed. So thank you so much for your time this afternoon, Julie.
Thank you. I appreciate it.